will confess I turned the AC down. That is what I did. There's only truth here. No. So, because we always have these wonderful, joyful jump around songs, and my body's just like, dude, really? So, but it's good because it feels good. I just get hot, and it was 73 in here. That's just unacceptable.
Oh my gosh. That was my fault. I should have put it to what, 68?
Yes, thank you. 69, 68. But it's good because that means our blood is pumping and my blood is pumping and I'm having fun. So let's get to our fun part and announcements. And I'm just going to do this one real quick. For anybody who has yet to fill out a membership form, I invite you to do so. We invite you to do so. Be formally part of our pod membership. They're really easy to fill out. It'll get you, and then we can enter you on our Facebook page, and you'll get a birthday card sometimes. I believe people, yeah. That's like when I say, is anybody here for the first time today? It's like, we're all here for the first time today. They would call me out on that. So yeah, for many reasons, fill this thing out. Okay. Yeah, today's birthday month, so we'll do that soon, later. So other announcements today or tonight, this evening, we have Kumari. I said it right. She's going to come and do a pet blessing for us. So the only, I think, rules is have your pet in a cage, crate, or leash, right? That's what she wrote on there. Yeah. So be mindful if you know your pet doesn't play well with others. Because that's why Jasper's not coming, because I would just be terrorizing him, putting him in a crate, bringing him here, a bunch of animals, and then going home. I just say a blessing to him, and he'll be like, thanks, Dad, we're good. But those animals that are social beings, bring them, Let her bring her gifts and bring her joy and bring her love and do a blessing for your pets. I'm sure she's going to do a little bit of a talk first, too.
She'll talk for about 15 or 20 minutes about what the anointing of the animals is. And then she'll just, what she did last time she was here, which has been years ago, but she just sits here at the front and you bring your pet and she talks to them. It's amazing to watch because she's so connected to them. And she'll just talk to them for a minute and bless them and tell you anything that she sees or feels from them, and then you can go. You don't have to stay.
Picture.
You can bring it. Yeah, I'm sure if you bring a picture, yeah, that'd be fine. So it'll be cool.
That's tonight.
That's
Yeah.
tonight,
Yeah,
6 o'clock.
6 to 7:15 are diversity nights generally run. Make sure they stay there.
Brian has a great dog.
Brian has a great dog. Come on out for that. It's going to be groovy. Sometimes some of us have better relationships with animals than we do with the humans. And sometimes I think those animals are here to give us those practice skills for our relationships with humans. So they do deserve, when I say that word deserve loosely, to be anointed for the things that they put up with from the human race and all the things that they take energetically from us and absorb from us. So for me, animals are one of the greatest gifts of this earth, and my little kid just loves all kinds of critters, and even making peace with the ones that have scared me and spooked me out along the way, like spiders and snakes, to the point where, because I want to be their friend too. They're just critters too. And through some experiences, like when someone like Becky knows about these critters and gives you the information, and the fear just slips away, because now well, he's not after me. He's more afraid of me than I am of him or her. So it gets us to bond with that. So it's going to be an exciting night. And I know these are just regular house pets. Unless you have a snake or a tarantula, by all means, bring them in. Just keep them in that corner over there. Teasing. But anyway, so that's for tonight. Next week, we're doing a drumming circle, correct? Or no? We never did do the power of your other hand.
Father's Day.
Father's Day, we're doing drumming circle. Next week, we'll do power of your other hand.
We're doing diversity night on Father's Day.
That's 2 weeks. We are.
Okay, because Mother's Day was very few people.
Right.
Okay, so we'll drum on Father's Day.
It's
And then
18th, so the
18th, yeah.
The 11th is power of your other hand.
So we'll do that, and as we did a talk a few weeks ago, well, it's part of this series that I've been talking about, where we talked about getting in touch with that other aspect of yourself. So I skimmed through this book, because I've got so many books at me right now, but I got some of the gist of their different exercises. And I've already done this kind of stuff throughout life, and a lot of you have anyway. So I just drew a few exercises, not exorcisms. And if that's what happens for you, then oh, great, you'll be blessed. There's plenty of people here to help you out. Can always segue it in here somehow. But so in these exercises, you'll get in touch with whatever, personality within that has something to say. And I'm going to invite a couple different ones on purpose, which I won't tell you now because we want it to be in the moment. I won't even give you all 3 questions at the same time so that you can connect with just that part of you without letting that monkey mind get in the way. So it'll be fun. We'll have an hour and a half to play with it. So we'll talk minimally and just hang out with the power of our other hand. So that'll be next week. We'll do Drumming Circle on Father's Day. I don't know what my title is for next week yet, so that'll be a surprise, but it'll be posted. I'll make an event again. Course of Miracles every Wednesday. We're doing a Course of Miracles, i.e. metaphysical type meetup group. And we've been doing that for a while. We just invite everybody to come on out. We read a small bit and talk a lot. We just hang out in it and get everybody's different perspective. But something new that is starting this very week is Rev Dale is going to be teaching and leading a world religions class. So it's a 6-week program that's going to be going through the different religions, whatever ones he's chosen. And out of that week, they're going to pick, or he will pick, a different ceremony or ritual from that religion or practice. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, we'll have I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to give you a big long list of things you might want to research and study and different practices you could try. You may already be doing some of these. And we're going to basically look at probably starting with the oldest religion, and we're going to see how they kind of flow together and how human consciousness kind of grows through all this. And in the process of doing this, I'm hoping our consciousness will also grow. That's the name of the game. All right.
So
It's going to be every Thursday for 6 weeks. I'm kidding there, man. 7 to 8:15 or 8:30.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, 2 hours, full 2 hours. Course of Miracles, you get an hour and 15 minutes. That's it. With Bill, you get 2 hours.
It's love offering too, so.
Oh, right. Always love offering. No one ever turned away. Again, remembering the tides turn for us all. So when you're abundant, share. And when you're in that lack moment, which we'll get to in other talks, someone will share for you. So remember that circle will always happen. So honor that. Don't ever be shy to come here for anything, or go up to that altar because you don't have a dime to put in it. You'll break my heart in a heartbeat, and I'm serious. That is the biggest part of that giving, is the mirror, is for you to recognize the wonder of who you are. So that's just something I want to add to the game always. Your gifts will come, your financial gifts will come when they come. And just be aware of that. And we honor all the gifts that people bring here. But it really makes me sad when I see someone sitting down because they don't think they have enough to give or deserve to go up there. I'm going to start the talk off crying. So just know that that's one of the most passionate things in me, is that we know the wonder of us, myself included. I have to remind myself, and sometimes you guys are the ones reminding me. So on Sundays, when we're here on purpose, to go look in there, because you may not look in your eyes all week long, from that perspective of surrendering to the peace and joy within you. So anyway, home talk we awesome before I go on a rant. And it's like, but that's my rant. Any more announcements anybody can think of? Brian. Oh, thank you, because that was, okay. Ding. Okay, now, the rest of this is a secret. Are we live streaming in this moment? Cool. Shh. We're having a secret surprise 80th birthday party for Fred Goodnight on the Tuesday of the 13th, which is a normal drum circle night. When Julie was here last week, or when Kim was here last week, she told us that he's going to be 80. And my brain, it didn't click at first, because he doesn't look 80. None of you people look your age. None of us look our age, which is good. And we don't even put anything in the water here. But just the joy of who this person has been through, I guess for me, he's been in my circle. I've been in his circle for the last 10, 15 years, and then not realizing that we were in the same circle for like 30, and how people's lives and cross. And well, he's been doing this kind of work for his entire life with such a delightful way of bringing people to a place of joy, teaching us rhythm and soul and different aspects of drumming. But his little kid is so present when he's here that I swear to God, everybody becomes 5-year-olds looking up at Fred, teaching us how to bang on pots and pans and make music. So it's not only in honoring of him, but it'll be a treat for yourself too. So coming out, I think we're doing like a potluck type thing. I don't know if I just made that part up. I'll have to look at the event more. That's why I looked at Becky. It's like every time we do so, we have a potluck or
I don't
every.
think it's a problem.
So, all right, no one's gonna be mad if you bring snacks, man. I'm telling you. So, it may not formally be a potluck, but it can be. Yeah. So I think it would be really special to honor him in that way. So again,
Imagine there will be cake or something.
yeah, and I think Kim Koslowski is choreographing it, and Julie created the event on Facebook. So yeah. So anyway, that's the 13th, a Tuesday the 13th. Clear? Any more announcements? Cool. So, for the past however many weeks, I've been kind of doing a series of talk without calling it a series. And I started the talk off, or this kind of series, when I did the talk, Past Lives, Present Lives, and the Dimensions, Multi-Dimensions of You. We talked about our incarnations. We talked about our souls. We talked about the fact that I came in incarnation as Mark. And I'm an experience of the all that is, and that each and every one of us is a separate experience of that all that is. And to honor that, and to honor that this carnation is here and now, and that whatever window I'm in and want to look through in my house, I can see those different carnations. It's just where I'm focused at. In this lifetime, I'm hyper focused on Mark and this stand for some reason. And it's to just appreciate that from that perspective is what reality I'm seeing. And then as we moved further into talks, I invited us to do a walkabout in each other's body. And I titled that talk, Appreciating the You and Me, and understanding that we all are separate carnations, or that's the illusion of the separateness of the all that is, the creator, the great consciousness that we believe we're all connected to. And for me to be able to do a walkabout in your body and to appreciate the you and me and the me and you, totally out of the way, completely from an observer, without any judgment. That word equanimity has gained more and more power for me as the years have gone by, and I've understood that and the energy of that and how difficult it is in our body to truly stand in equanimity, because we want to judge things. Even if we judge them as pretty, it's still a judgment. So to stand in that equanimity with each other and to just feel what their life feels like, what their incarnation looks like, how they are expressing their perspective of the God and the goddess. So we did that for a while. And then we talked about let go of my ego, where we took that ego without killing anybody or deflating anybody at depth, and just realizing that everybody within us has a separate feeling and a separate thought and could be almost a separate personality. So if we personify them to just help us in our own growth and give them character names, there's many ways I've done it, as far as putting them all on a stage. Remember, knowing, as the audience, and you're just taking inventory, or to recognize that they are all your cast members and you're a traveling play company, and you go wherever you go with this company. And at any given moment, whatever the scene is, you have certain actors and actresses that'll come up and play the role for you. And we talked about that aspect of letting go of those ego selves, but still being able to talk with them, but from that humbler place, or more humble place. Then we ended that part with for the greater good. And there's some papers out there that I broke down into different aspects of our egos. And that was just like a 10 or 11 word list of different aspects of our egos that I invited us to say, what does my warrior, how does my warrior add to the greater good? How does my anger add to the greater good? How does my inner child add to the greater good? My sacred sexual lover, how does he or she add to the greater good? Well, there's more and more and more. That was just a small list. Today, we're coming full circle back to the ego in a good way. And I call it getting your boast on. And to really appreciate now that we've done all this different work, and we'll continue to do this different work, because all we really do is cycle back in and remind ourselves of these inner human lessons. Metaphysics is pretty clear cut. Physics is pretty clear cut. And even as multitude of dimensions that there are, right now we're experiencing this one. And as we change our mind and shift our emotional perspective, we have the ability to shift our dimensions while still in this set where the dimension is like, okay, well, the stage was still the same, but meanwhile, I'm changing dimensions all the time every time I switch feelings, because thoughts and emotions are that non-physical thing. So to bring all those folks inside and ask yourself, how do they offer to the greater good with seeking no reward? We talked about karma and dharma. Karma being that simple predispositions that I have that underlie my attractions and my aversions. And Ram Dass defined that years ago on a tape that I listened to, and I took that one because it's so clean, it's so simple. That's that karma. So it's not like you smack me and I smack you back. That's not karma. But if I have a magnetic thing going on, if I'm predisposed to put that out, that energy out, a smack may be coming my way. Dharma was simply just knowing the right thing to do and doing it just because it's the right thing to do, with no reward for good or bad, no reward of getting the smile. We talked about the random acts of kindness and, paying that person's toll in back of you, and then driving forward and not even looking in the rearview mirror for the smile from that place of equanimity, and then allowing yourselves in other times to look for the smile and give yourself that too. All of it. You're allowed all of it. All of it, all the time. You're allowed all of it, all the time. Sometimes in these metaphysical practices, we think we must always be humble. We must never seek the adulation, the acknowledgement. It's like, well, if you always seek it, then you're stuck in that. If you never seek it, then you're stuck in that. And that's what today's talk is about with the limelight. It's like, so, for all you people here, and for all you people that live streaming, this is my shy shirt, I call it. This is what I wear when I don't want to be seen. Ain't gonna happen, right? So if I was being shy one day and I wore this shirt, people are gonna notice me. It's kind of hard to not notice me. And thank you, Robin and Kim, for the gift, because they gave this to me on my 50th birthday, just to acknowledge the gift of the shirt itself. Now, in my past, oh my, I could have never worn something like this. Oh no. And sometimes black is just because of the comfortability. I can wear whatever colors. I think you've seen by all my floral, flowery shirts that I'll wear whatever. But that wasn't always the case for me. It's like, in a lot of people I know, it's like always in dark and brown and black and anything hiding in that shadows. And it's okay. To everything there's a season. But if you said, Flair, like, oh crap, I just spilled something on my shirt, can I borrow one? And I handed him this, they'd be going like, Rain Man would show up in them. They'd be like, I'll be naked instead. Never mind, I can't wear that. Or just give me a blanket. Potato sack's fine. Because that'd be too loud. That would put them in the limelight too much. And some of us don't want to be in the limelight. But then again, every single one of us want to be in the limelight. And me and Margie used to talk about this when we were doing voice dialogue. And there's this one personality within us that we identified as the performer. And how so many times the performer shows up in our regular life because we're uncomfortable just being who we are. So that performer wants to come in and show the world who we are instead. Sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they miss the boat because they're just performing. They don't really care. Give them a script. They'll perform anything. So think about when we were little kids. What was like the most common sentence I think I have heard from my daughter, if I take all the sentences collectively to this moment, and it happened at an earlier age, but it was, look at me, dad, look at me, watch me, look at me, dad, watch this, dad, watch. And I was talking with someone the other day about those moments, and they don't want you to look at them anymore. Don't watch me. Don't look at what I'm doing. So to cherish those moments when they're saying, look at me, dad, look at me, look at me, dad, look at me. But let me revert all the way back to me then. Oh, I said that. I've probably said that a bazillion times. Watch this, dad, watch this. Look at me, dad, look at me. And every little kid, we've all been that little kid that has stood there and wanted someone to watch us. So since the dawning of our own existence, we've wanted to be in the limelight. Matter of fact, getting into that metaphysical level of it, we even raised our hands on that soul aspect journey and said, I'll go to that planet. It's like, well, you can go over here. It's a lot more mellow. They're going through a transitional period. I don't care. It's going to be pretty bright. It's going to be pretty dark. But to really make your point, you're going to have to stand in the light. I'll do it. And then we come in and we forget and we get all shy again. So all these different things, look at your life. Look at the aspects of your lives that when you were a little kid, that even though you were shy, you wanted to stand. You wanted the teacher to call on you. It's like, I know the answer. I'm just afraid. And a lot of that is what this talk is about. I'll be singing the special music later. And I've sang solos before, but today was more important on purpose because of this talk. Because as I created the event for that, I said that sometimes we have to be willing to stand in the limelight, even when we know that we're bound to have a sour note. We're bound to have, if we're a dancer, we're bound to have a misstep. And that so many of us don't stand in the limelight because we're afraid of that one off note. And maybe you get through the whole song or the whole dance or the whole project without a misstep, misnote, or mistake. But odds are, being in the human capacity that we are, that you're probably going to make a mistake. Do it anyway. And that's what this song is about. I mean, this talk is about, well, it's based on a song called Limelight by Alan Parsons Project. So as I looked about all our own lives and all the different dreams that we may have had and have, some of us have realized them. Some of them have allowed us to step into the limelight. And sometimes we stepped into the limelight for only moments in our life. You know, along this talk with the ego part, and I said in a playful way, what if I thought in all my wonder and all my brilliance, writer, speaker, I could write songs, that's what my moment was for. That's what my spotlight moment was for. And then when I cross over, Spirit said, oh, no. That was all cool. Yeah, great, groovy. But that little girl you hugged that was crying that day, that was your purpose. That was the reason you were here, because you made a difference to her and she went on to be great. She healed the world from all the pain. But if you weren't there that day to hug her, she was going to cry and throw a fit, and then her mom was going to get pissy with her, and she was going to spank her, and he was going to send that kid into a shell, and she would have never gone on to be who she was meant to be, to save the whole world. What? So all that other stuff that I did in my ego self, thinking I was so wonderful, add to the light, which I did. None of it was about that. It was only that moment. Yeah. But you still had to be willing to stand in the limelight for a second and go up to that little kid that you knew not, and knew not what's going to happen with the social people around you and how they would react when you stood in the light and everybody can see you going to hug the child. That's just a silly little example of it. It could be at line in a 7-Eleven when you see the girl freaking out behind the counter because it's her third day, and all of a sudden it's rush hour, meaning it's 2 or 3 o'clock. People are getting home from work and everybody hits the Zippy store. She's got a line a mile long, and a computer does what computers do and fouls up on her in that moment. And you see that bead of sweat breaking. You see her face become flush. You know that she's going through an anxious moment, and in that moment she is freaking out. And you, as a person in life, have the opportunity to stand in the limelight, because there's a whole line of people that are going to hear you when you speak. Say to her, it's okay, sweetie. You have plenty of time. Breathe. Or just whatever words come out of your mouth that offer that moment of kindness and peace to her, to help her breathe again and get present enough to not have to freak out in front of all the other people. When we do that, we not only help the girl in front of us, we help the people behind us in their own patience too. But you got to own and admit, in that moment, in that proverbial moment, all of a sudden, pop, a spotlight was on you because everybody was looking at you and what you were doing. It doesn't have to be this grandiose gesture of stepping into the limelight. It's got to be willing to step. The Hardball movie, where Keanu Reeves is the coach of the baseball kid little league and blah, 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 blah. In the whole movie, one of the key lines in it is, what impresses me the most is your ability to show up. And that's what we're talking about in the limelight, is to know that I've been holding on to these dreams, whatever they may be, even if it was just to be able to be kind to somebody, but fear would always get in my way and not have me say, do you need a hug? It would have me go, well, she'll be fine, and walk away. Or, well, they'll get somebody else to help them push them off the road and walk away. Or somebody else will speak up for the girl that behind the counter because everybody knows she's freaking out. Somebody else will say something and walk away. And all those moments were moments that we had an opportunity to stand in the light. Stand in the limelight. Yeah, people were going to see it. Yeah, they were going to notice that you had this big ostentatious shirt on. You weren't going to be able to hide in the shadow. You weren't going to be able to be the wallflower. They were going to notice you. People noticed me before I realized they noticed me, and they noticed me when I was in a very shy part of my life, and it took Sharon and Nahid in that 1-3-dare we had to explain to me what happened when I walked into a room. And it's not about being arrogant at all. Matter of fact, for me, it was about boosting up that ego to let me know that I did have an effect on people when I walked into a room. And what I was thinking was insecurity, like, oh my, they're looking at me like I'm defective or something. And instead they were looking at me because they saw my light. They saw my essence. And I was just such a happy-go-lucky person that I didn't know to hide it. And as wounds happen more in life, sometimes I did, but that innate self knew to just let it out all the time. Well, I didn't know that affected people in a negative way. I was so innocent in my heart that when you're happy, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're happy. And I've noticed those moments in my life where I've been sad that that happy person might have made me happy again. And their ability to shine in the light in that moment and still be the goofball, whether I was a grumpy butt or not, permeated over here. But there's some of those people that I didn't realize it, really disdain other people's happiness. So when you're standing in the limelight being all goofy, they want to shoot the light, or they want to upshadow you or upstage you or stifle you or shut you up in any way they can because they're uncomfortable with their own stuff. So why should you stand in the light if I'm standing in the darkness? Some people are hurting that much that they will do that. That's our time to shine it brighter, to love them bigger. Now, if we stepped back into the shadows for a moment because we're human, and fear got us that day and made us step out of the light, you can always step back in. Sometimes we step out and we're like, I failed. I failed my people. I failed them. I stepped back into the darkness. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve to stand before them and talk because I failed. And it's like, and everything in spirit is saying, Mark, Bob, Sally, Joe, just step back over here, man. You're okay. You're fine. Just breathe. You know you like standing in the light anyway. Come on, admit it. Okay, you're right, I do. And most of us do, as shy as we may be. I've done this scenario where fear, love, fear, and I talk about the New York City street walk, where fear has us looking down, fear, 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 see another person, love, fear, because innately we want to connect to them, and we just raise our head automatically, and just unless you're petrified, and then you just keep yourself down the whole time. But most people will do that fear, love, fear thing. Well, they'll be looking on the ground, they'll look up when they feel that being coming, because we can feel them. But in the moment of that love, what I'm suggesting and saying to us is that, and then we're both standing in the light, and it scares the crap out of us. It's like, so for a flash of a nanosecond, I stood in the light with someone, right? Well, watch what happens when you're the one that does it all the time. When you keep your head up all the time, and you just keep shining your light, and you stand in that spotlight going, yep, people are going to notice me today. I'm going to stand in the light all day long. I'm going to shine my limelight all day long. So I'm going to say happy words or whatever to people all day long. Where's Brian? You know, you're sitting there in surgery. We're there at 5:30 in the morning. And my brother's in there in surgery. So we got all these people saying prayers for him. And Julie's and I are there talking. But every single human being I met that day was a joyful experience. Because we were in such a place of not joy that he was getting a surgery, of prayer, of light, of knowing everything was going to be okay, of being with our brother. And every single person that we talked to, golly, from the candy striper, because we were there for 6 hours, so we got 3 volunteers that we got to talk with, all old people, so they were just filling us with their stories. Met some lady who's complete devout Christian, talked to her all about the pod and who we were, and she was digging every bit of it because she was that different flavor, newer thought Christian. So we were having a great conversation there. Julie actually got some input on business and how she could, work smarter for her own self. Every person in the hallway, every single person that I met, from doctors to nurses to orderlies to the candy stripers, were pleasantly wonderful. And I know it was because of my mood that I had those interactions with them. Yes, they were all wonderful people, but if I showed up in a crappy place, wanted to stay in the darkness that day, as I walked by them in the hallway, I wouldn't have been looking up. I would have been looking down, and I wouldn't have had that experience with them. But because I was willing to shine in the light with every single human being that I met that day, it was all light experiences. And it's like I've had enough evidence of this in my own life, but sometimes I forget. So I hang out in the shadows. Just don't look at them. We're all black there. They won't see me. Or all olive, I guess, for me. But it's just knowing that we have that ability to shine our light no matter what we're doing, no matter how small of a task it is. And it's the willingness to do it. So now there's that part of us that we've been doing all this ego work, and it's almost socially taught to us that no, you don't. Dim your light. Who the hell are you to shine your light? Marianne Williamson talked about this, and it's what Nelson Mandela uses in his inaugural speech. And I'm not going to completely quote it right, but the gist of it is like, who are you to dim your light so that others won't feel insecure around you? It's the gist of it. It's like, instead, lend witness to them about what it looks like to shine your light. So that so many of us have done this in our codependent nature that we're like, here's my friend. I know he's insecure, or she, on whatever level, okay? But I want to go out with them. I know I'm going to bump into his or her insecurities along the way. I've got an opportunity to leave them in the dark or to remind them of their light and just nod them, hey, nudge them. Like, hey, man, you can do this. You can do this. Come on, you can do this. Remember, you can do this. Mark Twain. I love Mark Twain. He's always saying groovy stuff. Well, not so much anymore, but he did. Right? And I just lost the Mark Twain one. Criticize me and I may not like you. Compliment me and I may not believe you. Encourage me and I will never forget you. And that's that thing that we're doing when we're willing to be comfortable standing in the light, right? And know that our friend is like sticking their toe, and you can't see my on live stream. I'm sticking my toe forward like I'm dipping it in a pool, trying to be more remembering of the people on live streaming. And that they want to stand in the light, but they're so afraid that it's going to be like a vampire or something, they're going to melt. And it's like, no, that's not real. You won't melt in the light. Me, I do sometimes. I knew you were thinking it. It's just because I'm so sweet. No. Oh, okay. Thanks. So I am a vampire. No, Jesus. But in that, it's like we almost fear like we are going to melt like a vampire if we step into the light. Yet everything inside of us, it's all we've ever wanted. I mean, I showed up as a Leo, which is cool, and it doesn't mean I'm arrogant. And actually, the other way around, I've had more lessons in life of lifting my ego than having to thwart it down. And some Leo brothers and sisters I've met have had the opposite lesson of like, dude, yeah, I see ya. Can we tone it down a little bit? And it's all about that balance. And when I did that talk, the 12 Houses of You, a couple of years ago, which I'll bring back every once in a while because it's really groovy to see the different aspects of the signs and the challenges that we came in this lifetime. And that's part of the reincarnation drill, is that we all get a turn at that different energetic person, because it's just your energy. So one of the things for Leos, they're challenging in this lifetime, one of their core lessons is about honor, trust, ego, esteem, confidence. That's what Leo's gig is. That's what they do. That's why the whole Wizard of Oz and Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion, and how she helped him tap into the courage that was within him and remind him of who he was as the lion. And then he found his bravery. That's part of the Leo thing, right? Well, everybody's got that nuance within them that there's something that they're insecure about, that they were like, oh, I won't step in the light for that. Yeah, but you're really good at that. Well, yeah, but you're the best at that I've ever seen out of all the people I've seen do that. And that's part of what I mean about getting your boast on. It's like we've done some different words, meaning some handouts where I've had people go inside and identify different aspects of themselves and what serves you. Today, I'm asking you on purpose, we'll just go around, people can blurt it out, to get your boast on, to go inside for a second and go, what am I really good at? And I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. Something that you can boast about in front of us all. To stand in the limelight for a moment, playfully. It could be your little kid. It could be your stoic person that's just, I am just so brilliant. I am good at calculus. Whatever. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. Something in you. Anybody. Just start with anything. Anybody. Raise a hand. Margie. Making people laugh. And just owning it and feeling good about it and lifting yourself up with it. And no judgments about, oh, humble. I wrote a poem the day I saw God cry, and I was reading it. And I've written it 20-some years ago, and I'm reading it to my roommate, and there's this one line that says, I've been spending enough time being known while humble and being walked on in times I was meek. And I'm reading this line to my friend, as I'm reading him the poem, and I hear Spirit going, why don't you spend some time being someone while humble instead of no one while humble? I'm like, what the? I didn't think of that, because what I was taught was humility meant no one, nothing, gone, bowed. You can't see me. I'm humble. And only arrogant people stood up and shouted out to the world that here they were. Well, there is that balance of both that's got nothing to do with arrogance, because here's the difference between the limelight, standing in it, and upstaging somebody. Philip's in theater. Rachel's in theater. We have a few people here that have done theater before. And I'm going to tell you, if you're an actor and you're supposed to be here, and you have the dialogue of the moment, and then the other actor comes and upstages you, you're going to be pissed. And the director's going to be pissed because it's not how the play goes, because it gave a different dynamic to that person's monologue. Because in that moment, they were meant to have the spotlight for that production. And in other scenes, the other actor or actresses were meant to have the spotlight for a different production. Remember, we're a traveling theater company. We have all different kinds of plays. We have this whole staff of actors and actresses. But there's going to be, in any kind of theater group, if there's an actor or actress that's constantly upstaging one of the actors or actresses, they're going to get a lot of stuff in their ear, and they may even be asked to leave the company. Because it's a symbiotic relationship when you're putting on a performance. Be it a dancing group. If one dancer out of that whole group wants to be in the limelight by themselves all the time, the routine will constantly flounder. Because now we're in a symbiosis with each other. So as we're walking this walk of life, standing in the limelight doesn't mean I send my brother or sister back to the shadow, or that I upstage them when it was their turn. So it goes all the way back to 5 again. Take your turn. Be nice. But I'm up, watch me, I'm up. Okay, but Sally's up right now. Be present with Sally, you might enjoy it. And then you watch Sally, like, oh, that was fun. She sang Twinkle, Twinkle, I love that song. And then you go up, and then you know that everybody has your attention, or you have everybody's attention too. So by giving other people their turn in the spotlight, in the limelight, you're allowing yourself to have that as well in a good way, because sometimes we do that interruption thing because we can't stand in it and we feel guilty. So we're afraid to stand in it, so I'll interrupt you. And it's just the way the dynamic of it shows up. Give yourself permission to stand in the limelight in whatever you're doing, get your boast on in a good way, because if it becomes arrogant every day, then your people are gonna, that's what the whole book Giant is about, which will be coming out soon too. About getting too big for your britches. And knowing that the gifts that we had that served the world and served that greater good, we were still allowed to be happy about. One of the things in Giant at the beginning of the book, he was so happy that he stood highest amongst the trees and can touch the sun like no others. And he lived to serve the creatures around him because he was so much bigger, stronger, and faster. And then somewhere along the line, he got arrogant about it and became, I should be worshipped. I'm bigger and stronger and faster. These slow creatures are actually getting on my nerves. Matter of fact, I'm going to start dominating them too. And upstaging them, or dominating in the story even would destroy their lives if they didn't obey. But my point is, as we get too big for our own britches, now we shadow everybody. And what? No one can ever be in the light because we're too great for our own shadow? Too great for our own too big for our own britches that we create such a big giant shadow that nobody can stand in the light? That's something to go back in and look inside of you. And to go, where am I so insecure that I needed to take the whole stage when I only had one role? Part of the lyrics in this song is maybe the role wasn't easy in the roles that we've taken in life. And sometimes when Scott and I and Martha are doing these workshops, we'll say that the roles that we take throughout this weekend to help you get through your stuff may change. Don't attach any one role to us. And that the entire workshop itself were designed to help people that got stuck in a role or were trying to tap into a new one. So even in my own life, if I'm wanting to tap into a new role of maybe I'm going to be starting a new career, maybe I'm going to be starting a completely different aspect of my life, which is a new role. I might have to let go of some things that I was before. What if I was a stay-at-home dad and stayed and didn't have to get up at 5 o'clock for the last 3 years? But now in this new role, I have to get up at 5 a.m. So I got to change. I have to go with the flow of my own show and realize that to step into the limelight, I may have to alter some of my own wantings and change some of the roles that I have had. Whether the reward is big or small, it doesn't matter. It's knowing that this is what I'm doing because I've always wanted this. To know that I can hear them in the distance calling me. That I know that they're out there calling my name, waiting for me to finally get off my ass and do something. Or to stand in that limelight and shine whatever it is in the moment. That today could be that day for me. Today could be that day for you. Whatever those dreams that are unfelt, unrealized for us because we're afraid to step into the light and let somebody see you with a really loud shirt on. And that I couldn't be the wallflower. So again, I'm going to invite anybody else to blurt a boast out. What are you really good at? We can just go in line. Editing. Feet. Ideas. Giggling. No. Let your little kid answer because they don't think about it so much. Playing. Give it another one. Loving people, yes. Calming. Growing plants, right on. Learning. Consistency. Miss Denise. Learning. Cooking. There's the potluck dinner stuff. Alicia. Art. Emmy. Acting. Electricity. Drumming. Lighting. I'm just an all-around great guy. I'm a great poet. I'm a great lyricist. I'm a great speaker. I'm telling you, a year ago, I couldn't have said that sentence. 10 years ago, I couldn't have thought it. And my math may be off, but my point is, knowing that there's all these people within us that have been not allowed to boast, especially in religion. And it's like, I'm telling you, if it's pressing someone down with your boasting, then hush up. If it's lifting you and other people up, sing it at the top of your lungs from the top of the mountain as loud as you can and know it's okay because there's no harm to anybody. I harm myself. I've harmed myself more by not boasting than I've ever harmed another human being by boasting because of who I am. And the lessons I've realized that I could have added more to that greater good talk I was talking about last week at more times in my life had I been willing to stand into the limelight. And it's okay. It's no harm, no foul, no flogging. This is a no flogging zone. To just understand, like, you know, that old, like, I could have been a contender, you know, to play with that within yourself and to take it as a lesson and to take it as a moment so that next time someone turns the light on and says, go, that you do, that you're willing to go, that you're willing to stand in it, even if it's just to hug the little girl, to sit there and make sure the girl behind the counter, the guy behind the counter isn't going to freak out because it's their first or second day and they just don't know what they're doing. For whatever reason that you stood in the limelight that day, to just be proud enough to let yourself know that you are wonderful, you are ostentatious, miracles are natural things, and you are a miracle, to let your light shine and to shine it brighter and brighter every day. And you're allowed to take your turn in the shadow when you choose to sit down to watch somebody else in the limelight on purpose. Not that you're hiding ever again. So does anybody else would like to share one thing that maybe their little kid wanted to say, but they didn't because maybe they slipped back into the shadow for a moment?
I can blow bubbles in the bathtub.
But
With what?
oh, I'm a taco, yes. Because that was on my mind, but thank you. Right on. Knowing that that's what it's all about, you know. Some of the lyrics in it here is like, holding on isn't always easy. And it isn't. Sometimes we have all these different dreams with on, and we're trying to hold on. And it's not always easy. We get discombobulated within ourselves. It's like, but it's just keeping, you know, the eye on the ball, or the eye on the prize, the ring, whatever you want to call it. We know metaphysically it's about focus, seeing, believing. We did all this dance with that, and we'll do it more and more and more because it's really all there is to ever talk about, just different ways of going within and understanding that inside job. I mean, I did a funeral yesterday for Scott's ex-in-laws, or former in-laws, whatever. And I was talking with someone about the pod, and it really made me feel good because as I was talking about the pod, the lady was pretty receptive, and I could tell she's from a Christian upbringing. But I was like, listen, I said, we don't care what your religion was. We're going to teach the metaphysical aspects of them because they all have these wonderful truths. And I even talked about your class that was coming on. So we actually have a guy who's about to teach a world religions class for the next 6 weeks. So it's not about not wanting any religion. It's about grabbing the truth within those religions and the metaphysical lessons of truth that these masters were trying to teach us. And that's what we do here, that we know God is fine, we know our spirit's fine, and that the inside job of it is discovering that human part that may get bumped and bruised along the way and forget their divinity. So it's like, as we talk to people about where you go to church, what you do on Sundays, give them those kind of lines, because it makes it easier for them to understand and relate, so we can get more and more people here, because we do welcome. That's what the diversity part means. It's not just about race and creed and sexuality. It's about the belief systems. It's like, one of the things, if you want to believe one of the masters, Jesus, as you believe, so you will see, which is the whole premise of metaphysics in the first place. Well, the same thing with your own dreams. It's like, you know, some of the evidence of the things going on in my own life right now are evidence of the positive things that I was dreaming and looking at now coming into fruition. So keep that limelight in your inner mind of, what is your goal? What is your plan? Where do you want to step into the limelight? Do you want to be the best laugher in the world? You know, be the best laugher in the world. You know, be the best of whatever it is you're going to do in that moment, because you don't have to lock yourself into that and go, now I can never be anything else. And that's why sometimes we're afraid of being in the limelight. You know, one of the lines in here is like telling the world who I am. I'm going to step in the limelight as everybody's going to see me. They're going to see my belly's big now. It wasn't always big, but now if I step into the light, they're going to definitely see it. No way to hide that now. I said, sometimes I think we're more afraid of our body image than our nudity itself. Well, the same thing is standing in the limelight. If I share with you a feeling, an emotion, a thought, say I'm a writer. Oh, I am a writer. And I write my own song or my own poem or my own story, and that's putting myself in the limelight, but really vulnerable. So that point is about our vulnerability, and that when we put ourselves in the limelight, we almost become afraid because it's going to tell the world on us. So to breathe into that and do it anyway. I'm about to sing a song and do it anyway. To paint your picture. Never had an artist training, but somebody inside of me wanted to paint a picture today and do it anyway, and then show someone. It's real easy to be enlightened in a cave by myself at the top of the mountain. And again, I love all the groovy Zen stories from the guy in the cave at the top of the mountain. But it's harder down here with each other to go, look at me, look what I did, look what I did. Just remember the children. I got kids' stuff on my fridges. on my fridge. I only have one fridge, but a lot of kid stuff. What have you done that you put on your fridge? So be willing to do that. Be willing to be such a kid about it that you'll stand in the limelight knowing that you're going to do it in a good way and that you're not going to try to upstage anybody. You're not going to try to shove somebody back into the shadow so that you can be the one standing in the light. And remember to take turns. So thank you. Ahoma Takuyasu. Give me a second. So now, again, this song is Limelight by Alan Parsons Project. And the lyrics in there I talked a little bit about. Maybe 3-4 months ago. I love Alan Parsons Project. I've been listening to this album since I was in high school. And I've heard this song before, but I kind of skipped over it. So I'm 54 now, man. That's like 30 something years that I've had this album, been listening to it avidly, know almost all the songs on this album. And only like within the last year, 6 months, did this one pop out at me. I also have a lot of people in my life saying, are you going to come out now with your stuff too? And it's all part of that lesson. And I watch different people in different projects. Like Marty's got a workshop coming up this weekend, correct? Next.
On the 16th.
Love yourself and self-emergence, self-love and
Self-love emergence experience.
self-love and emergence experience. I would have done that at the announcements, but it's about letting we're allowed.
Emerging yourself in self-love.
Okay, emerging yourself and self-love, so that we got the title right. But for me, it's also about letting someone else shine. It's a lot easier for me to push you in the light and boast about you than it is myself. So we get to do that for each other too. So keep that in mind along the journey and go to Marty's workshop too. All right, brother. I can see the glow of a distant sun. I can feel it inside. Maybe this day could be the one. I can hear the roar of a distant crowd. They are waiting for me, calling my name, shouting out loud. Holding on isn't always easy. Nothing can change my mind. Limelight, you're all I ever wanted since it all began. Limelight, shining on me, telling the world who I am. Limelight, don't let me slip right through your fingers. There's a long way to fall. After all the years of waiting, I'm gonna show them all. I can see the world in a different light. Now it's easy to say where I went wrong, what I did right. I can hear the beat of a different drum. Take it all in my stride, hold my head high, second to none. Holding on wasn't always easy. Nothing can change my mind. Limelight, you're all I ever wanted since it all began. Limelight, shining on me, telling the world who I am. Oh, limelight, don't let it slip right through your fingers. There's a long way to fall. After all the years of waiting, I'm gonna show them all. Maybe the rose was not easy. Maybe the prize is small. After all the years of waiting, I'm gonna show them all.